In this movie, we're going to look at doing some more advanced image editing using Camera Raw. Now, almost everything we're going to be doing here can be done in Photoshop, but I think you'll find that it's usually much easier just to do a quick edit like this in Camera Raw. So I'm going to import Car by the Potomac from the Images folder in the Media folder in the Exercise Files folder. I'm just going to drag this to the After Effects icon, or alternatively, you could just import this the same way you would import any other piece of footage in After Effects, and it will automatically open up in Camera Raw. Got this footage of this car next to the Potomac River in Washington, D.C. I'm actually going to click once to zoom in here a little bit. And what we're going to do is remove this car. We're going to do that by using one of the tools up here at the top. Camera Raw 5 introduced a lot of cool new tools up here. Some of them we'll just kind of briefly touch on, but there's a lot of power here. If you just hover your mouse over to get tooltips, you can see that there's a graduated filter, an adjustment brush, red eye removal, spot removal. You could straighten images, crop them, and a few other things here. Really powerful stuff. So I'm going to select the spot removal to get rid of this car. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in the center of the blemish, in this case the car. I'm going to click and drag away until the circle encompasses the blemish entirely. That looks good. Now once I've done that, it's going to automatically make another circle appear. And so the red circle, the initial one we've drawn, determines where the blemish is. The green one determines where the information will come from to remove the blemish. So we can grab this circle on the right and move it around if we don't think Camera Raw has done a good enough job of guessing. To remove these circles, go over to the right side of Camera Raw and uncheck Show Overlay. So it did a pretty good job, but I'm going to turn the overlay back on. I think I'm going to click and drag this little green circle up just a little bit. That's going to lower the cloned area. That was a little bit overboard. Probably need to zoom in a little bit. You can do that by holding the Command key and the space bar or the Control key and the space bar on the PC. Zoom in just a little bit, and then I think we'll have a little bit better time making fine changes here. And indeed, that was a fine change. Okay, so that's looking okay for now, and we probably could go back and tweak that a little bit. We can play with the radius of the healed area. We can actually change the type from heal or just a basic clone. We'd also adjust the opacity there, but I think this looks good for now. Not super happy with the edges, this area right here and this area right here. Not super believable, but again, they're very small blemishes, and if you weren't looking for it, you might not notice. Now, another one of the interesting features here at the top of Camera Raw is this targeted adjustment tool. If you're familiar with Photoshop, a lot of the new effects offer this functionality, which allow you basically just to go in your image and just click and drag anywhere to make a different type of adjustment. So if I click and hold this down, then I can choose what I want to adjust. So let's say I want to adjust a color's hue. We looked at how to do this in the last movie by going to HSL Grayscale. But when you're using the targeted adjustment tool, you could just go in here and let's say this color, this grass. I'm not sure if Camera Raw is going to see this as a yellow or a green, whatever. I don't care. So I'm just going to click and drag to the left and to the right to change its hue. And you can see these trees in the background are basically the same hue as this grass, and so they're changing as well. So if I want a more country pasture type feel, I can drag this to the left, or if I want a rich, vibrant feel, I can add some blue, which makes the grass look a little bit more green. Likewise, I can click on the water and change that hue. It's a very faint hue though, it's almost white, so we're not seeing that much of an intense change. Also notice while I'm clicking and dragging, blues is changing mostly, but there's also some aquas in here, and that's changing a little bit as well, but not as much as the blues. That is awesome. We could also change the targeted adjustment tool to change saturation. So we can click and drag to the left to desaturate the grass, drag it to the right to saturate it. Same thing with the river here. We could also do the same thing with luminance or the parametric curve. So with that curve that we were looking at earlier in the last movie, again, we can make things brighter or darker. So if we click on the river and drag to the right, we can make the river brighter. We can drag it to the left to make the river and all the tones like the river darker as well. So we have all these adjustments. We have red eye removal. We have spot healing, stuff that we really don't have in After Effects. When adjusting curves or adjusting hue saturation in After Effects, you can't just click and drag on something to change it, but you can here. So these are some of the many reasons why I say it really pays to learn Camera Raw and use it with After Effects. Now, one other thing that I want to show you very briefly is the new adjustment brush. I'm going to click here, and I'm going to click in these trees over here. I'm going to click and drag, and what that's going to do is add a little point here, and then we can adjust that point. So we can adjust the exposure for that point, or actually the pixels around that point, or just the brightness or contrast or saturation for just that point, just that area. So before CS4, all the adjustments in Camera Raw applied to the entire image, and now that's just not the case. We can make these little adjustments with the adjustment brush, and we can even adjust the size and the feather and the flow and the density and all that kind of stuff of these little points, and thereby make more custom, fine-tuned, localized adjustments. Camera Raw really is a wonderful thing.